lofted in the atmosphere about 40 minutes ago. Again, that was for a cell that was further to the west, closer to Hammond, and lifted through here. These are further east by a couple of miles. That cell there has got some minor rotation. That one is messy as well. It is 5 o'clock this morning. You are now watching the WWL Louisiana Morning News as we kick things off. We've got the whole team here. They're getting ready to. The Weather Service, I guess they're going to keep these tornado warnings going. These are, I was talking about earlier, these are some of the poorest looking little cells I've ever seen with regard to a well-defined signature for rotation. That doesn't necessarily mean they aren't rotating though. These are just very, very tiny little cells that spin up quickly and they can spin down just as quickly. And whenever you look at this, there's, again, no defiant or definite areas of intense rotation with these. I don't even call them thunderstorms. They don't even have thunder. These little weak cells that are lifting to the north. So this is one and that's one. And if you've tracked radar long enough, you know typically what you're looking for. You're looking for the greens and red to meet. We do have some minor areas of that, but these are very, very weak signatures from what I'm seeing at the moment. And so I don't think these are going to be anything strong if they are actually forming. A tornado is a tornado nonetheless, but right now you just don't have any well-defined radar circulations or signatures at this hour. All right, it's 5:01. We're going to be, unless there's any updates to these are going to continue to travel to the north. I don't know what the producers, if we want to kick off the show as usual, if we want to toss it to the anchors and get things rolling this morning. Y'all let me know exactly what you want to do as we track this tornado warning to the north right now. This is lifting north again of north of 190. If there's any rotation, it's very weak in nature, but it's sitting north of Robert, and then we're keeping an eye on this. But this is the main one that's tracking to the north at this hour, and we'll keep an eye on it as we go throughout the rest of the morning. Here on the South Shore, we're doing pretty good. Let's toss it on over to Bree and Brandon and say
WWL Louisiana Morning News begins with breaking news.
And good morning to you at 5:02 on this morning news. That breaking news pretty obvious here. Peyton Malone keeping us up to speed on what he's been tracking. That tornado warning popping up throughout the area, parts of Tangipahoa Parish. Peyton trying to figure out right now the extent of all of this, looking at the watches and warnings.
Yeah, good morning to all of you. Brianna Boudreau here. Peyton's been on all morning long, and as you've heard him say, we have made some calls from our newsroom trying to just speak with emergency crews there who are still trying to figure out. But as Peyton mentioned, often when these tornadoes potentially touch down in those rural areas, that's where you're not getting a lot of that information until sunlight. So as we continue to track this, we're going to send things back over to Peyton. Is that where we're wanting to go so he can keep us updated here with this weather impact alert?
Yeah, good morning, y'all. Okay, we've been tracking a couple of these cells all morning. If you are just joining us and your phones went off up in Tangipahoa Parish, this tornado warning does continue, although there hasn't been any substantial changes or structures to the storms, which is good. It doesn't mean these things, or it means these things are not ramping up into anything significant. However, these are oftentimes quick spin up tornadoes. Sometimes the radars will completely miss these tornadoes because these scans come down every couple minutes. So you're not getting a constant live feed of what's actually happening in the storms. It's a snapshot every couple of minutes here. And so that very well could be what's happening with some of these cells. There was two areas we were watching here, two separate cells that were trying to rotate. The first one is now just north of the Hammond Airport. That's got some very weak broad rotation. This one here has become messier as this storm has taken over the inflow essentially. And so that one, which is lifting to the north, is probably just producing some heavy showers, and occasionally it has some strong wind gust as well. This cell here is sitting north of the airport. That's the one that's probably the more dominant feature now, but even looking at it on radar, it does not have a well-defined circulation here. And so this tornado warning is extremely, I think better safe than sorry at this point. We are not tracking any substantial rotation with it. As a meteorologist who's looked at many radar images in my life, this is probably one of the weakest signatures I've seen, at least down here, for a tornado warning. Now, not to underplay this, but compared to what we had earlier at the 4 a.m. hour where we actually did have some debris signature, that was a storm about an hour ago that was closer to Hammond. It was right in there and lifted north. This one is not as defined. We can track it with our debris detector too, and what I'm looking at here is anywhere you see the bright reds and the pink colors, that's rain. That means all of the particles that the radar is seeing are all uniform or similar in size. Now, when you're looking for debris on these radar images, you start to look for these white colors and blue. That means radar is detecting things that are all different sizes. And we did have that earlier with that storm that was sitting over towards Hammond and Independence. Now, when you look at this storm, I don't see any clear indication. I know it may look like that, but that is kind of broad and messy in nature. That's not really what a tornado signature would look like. A tornado signature really does look like a solid round area when you're looking at this product. And so this is encouraging news. We're not seeing anything jump out as a radar confirmed tornado, whereas earlier this morning we did, and we were tracking it. And I can show you, this is what it looked like at 4 a.m. And as it lifted north, it's hard to see, but there was a little lowering right in there, and it lifted from here to here, and it was just a constant update, which tells us there was something happening there. We're still working, though, to get all that information in and to actually see if there was any damage with this storm as it lifted to the north. So again, if you're just joining us, it's very early in the morning. I know a lot of people are just waking up at 5:05 a.m. We are watching this. This is lifting to the north. This tornado warning is going to go until 5:30 a.m. officially. They're trimming it back. I do think this is the cell they're currently just being better safe than sorry with. You can see another cell's moving off the lake. That may try to spin as well as it lifts up to the north. I tell you what, let's check in with Brooke here in just a moment. We're going to get an update. Brooke's going to give you an update on what's happening up here to make sure we don't have any travel problems around I-55 and I-12. That's where all the heavy rain has been this morning as well. But here on the South Shore, we've been doing just fine. How are we doing this morning, Brooke?
Good morning, Peyton. Thank you for keeping us updated. Right now, no major issues on the roadways. Like Peyton mentioned, a lot of this is more rural in nature, so we're not seeing as many cars affected by it. But certainly, if you have the opportunity to stay home, this is always your best option, at least for the next 24 minutes as this morning continues until 5:30. And those areas that Peyton's mentioning that aren't super well defined on radar for circulation have a lot of messy rain elements, so that's not something you necessarily want to be driving through either. But if you are traveling up I-55 or maybe along I-12 this morning, then you'll definitely want to make sure you're slowing down, taking your time, adding a couple minutes to your normal drive time, especially before the sunrise, because like Bree mentioned, it's very tough to see any debris, which this morning's earlier tornado warning in the 4 o'clock hour did signify on radar. So there's a possibility of some downed trees. Hopefully they're not on any of these major highways, but certainly in the more rural areas, it's always a possibility. So we'll take you over towards the North Shore in Slidell now, only taking about 26 minutes from Slidell to downtown New Orleans. Not looking too bad there. We've got about 9 to 10 minutes for the twin spans as usual, and we're much drier as you come a bit further east. All of our normal speeds around 70 miles an hour, and you can see cars are moving fine, just as usual, near Chef Mentor, so no major problems there either. We do have another little area of rain that you should be aware of a little bit closer to downtown. We've been dealing with these on and off showers all morning, and of course the roads are still pretty wet from yesterday. We had on and off rain very consistently. So as a result, you just want to make sure you're not hydroplaning, taking your time, and of course thinking about others on the road as well. 22 minutes over to the Causeway, no problems getting northbound there, and you're looking fine coming southbound also. And then over towards the western part of the viewing area, as you can see, dry, lots of rates are normal, around 50 to 70 miles an hour. So if you are traveling on the North Shore this morning, add a couple minutes to your drive time, and of course be careful, take it slowly, make sure that you're not encountering any debris on the roads before the sun comes up. All right, Brandon and Bree.
Brooke, thank you. Yes, of course, we want everyone to be as safe as possible this morning, and so that's why we've had meteorologist Peyton Malone on for a while now, giving us those updates as we are tracking that tornado warning in Tangipahoa Parish, set to expire at 5:30, but something still active that we're keeping a close eye on right now.
Yeah, that's part of the good news here, set to expire at 5:30. The other good news, as Peyton gets a better idea of the data and a check of the radar, seeing that this isn't as centralized as what would be a tornado, or at least what he's seeing popping up on the radar right now. Let's get over to Peyton again, who's going to set us up with the latest.
Yeah, guys, as we continue to track this ongoing tornado warning, these storms are struggling, which is great news. This means they're not organized and they're not spinning quickly. Okay, we'll put it simple as that here. These are very marginal tornado warnings, in my opinion, and the storms do have some spin here, but this is definitely a better safe than sorry moment. There's the two still the two separate cells we're watching. They're both north north of Robert now. So Robert, we're going to give you the all clear from these two storms. You're no longer included in these tornado warnings or this tornado warning. Now, if you're further north, you can see the Ranger there, and in fairly rural parts east of Highway 51, these two cells here. There's some very, very weak rotation, especially that one. Whenever you're tracking two storms, you always pick the tail one typically to become the dominant storm here, because what happens is that tail storm starts to choke off the northern one and you get disruption to the circulation. And so usually when you're watching two storms in close proximity, you really focus on this one. Now you can still get problems, but right now I think we're probably looking at some gusty winds with some of these as they lift north, and they may try to put down a very quick spin up tornado. We were talking about earlier, we have put out calls to Tangipahoa Parish, and we haven't heard any details back yet from officials on any damage reported, and we're still working to get that information. Once the sun comes up, we may see some new information, but that's where we stand right now. I put out a call on you on social media, and so far I'm just getting reports of heavy rain and occasionally some gusty winds with these showers. And these are from y'all up on the North Shore right now who are sending me this information on what you are seeing. Fantastic news. Now, I will say these things can put down those very quick little spin up tornadoes. And so that's why we follow these things closely. You don't necessarily have to have something on the ground immediately to really focus and watch it. Now, if we look at our velocity, this is the winds moving in the thunderstorm. Green are winds moving towards the radar, which is right there. You can see the scan. Red colors are winds moving away from the radar, and you've got some broad, probably mid-level rotation happening in these thunderstorms. In fact, if we go and look a little bit higher up into this thunderstorm, we may actually see a more defined rotation. Okay, so what you're seeing here is I'm dragging the radar beam higher up, and this is what the National Weather Service is highlighting. There's a weak spin there and a weak spin here. I think this is probably the primary. We've got to think about the winds. Yeah, so this would be our area of spin actually in the thunderstorm that they're highlighting. That's the northern cell. The southern one is somewhat flipped from that, which is interesting. You can get, we call them anticyclonic. You're getting in the weeds of meteorology here, but generally there's a couple weak areas of spin between these two cells, and they're right along Highway 40. And so if you are in Tickfaw or Independence right now, I think you're fine. You're not currently included in that tornado warning, but you do have some heavy rain to watch out for. If you are closer, getting further out into Tangipahoa Parish, closer to the parish line, there's Unitas as you get into, here's the parish line between St. Tammany and Tangi. This is the corridor where we have those weak areas of spin that the National Weather Service has been following. And we do have constant communication with them. Okay, so now they're watching a new cell, and this is the same thing that happened with this. We're watching these cells come off the lake. Okay, now this is a clear indication of some rotation. This is something you see it on radar and you go, wait a minute, this is something. So it wouldn't shock me if we get another tornado warning for this cell. They're probably going to watch it to see how it ramps up. And so while these two up to the north continue to look fairly weak, that one is the best signature I've seen all morning here for rotation. Okay, so let's go ahead and put an early outlook on this one. And while you're not currently in a tornado warning, it very well could be issued at any moment. I wouldn't be shocked if it pops up at any second. So here's Lee's Landing, and more so, this is going to be lifting up to 22. This is a ferry. This is a rural part of just off the lake. That's Highway 22. That's Robert, Lorraine. Here's I-12. Here's Hammond, here's Ponchatoula. So they're probably going to issue a warning here if it continues to ramp up, and this is going to include, again, it'll probably include Robert and this corridor right along I-12. And I think we do have some traffic cameras out here. We'll work on getting these traffic cameras along I-12 somewhere out here pulled up to watch this as it does pass nearby. And that's got a little bit before it actually crosses I-12. But this is an early heads up for our next area of spin we're going to monitor very, very, very closely. So what you're seeing here when you look at radar is that, well, these radar images are all over the place. This is a little further north than what the other one's showing. So your area of spin right now is going to be closer to Highway 22, and very soon it's going to be approaching I-12. And so this corridor here, here's the road coming out along I-12. Closer look you can get. That's 445. So where 445 meets I-12, that's where this area of spin is going to pass as this cell lifts to the north. They've been moving at around 25 miles an hour. So I could put an early outlook on this for you. Let's put it moving at 25 miles an hour northwest through Tangipahoa Parish. And so we can get an idea on what this area, or where it's going to be moving off to. And so you can see there it's not locking in a whole lot of things, but to give you an idea geography-wise, closer to the Champ Cooper Elementary School, that'll be here in the next about couple of minutes. Robert will have to watch this cell closer to right here near 190 by 524 to 525. That's going to be when we watch this new cell that's starting to spin lift to the north. I'm just getting an update again from the National Weather Service. They're saying they're going to update that tornado warning. What they're doing with the tornado warning to the north is they're trimming it back. And clearly, this is a mini supercell. Okay, so what we're watching happening here, this is just north of LaRanger. This is north of Highway 40. That's a clear area of spin. The thing they're concerned about is a tornado being right in there. This is going to be near Wolf Lakes Boulevard. Pine Grove Church is right here, if you're familiar with these areas. That's your concern area as this lifts north. About 20 miles an hour is how fast this one is moving. Let's look at velocity here because this thing is looking healthier. We are starting to see a better indication of some spin with this one. And so that's why they're going to continue this warning with this cell as it lifts north. So a closer look, just to give you an idea, again, this is close to the Lighthouse Baptist Church is here. This is Wolf Lakes Boulevard here. This is going to be your area of spin as it lifts north, and that will continue to lift north through rural areas, but there are houses and things out here. So you do need to be in your tornado safe spot if you live in this general area. This is the current thinking of where we have that potential for something to be a quick spin up. Also, we're continuing to watch that area spin that's closer to Highway 22 this morning as it lifts to the north, lifts to the north as well. And so the rotation with that one, I think we've got to look at reflect. This is the most interesting storms I've ever tracked. And these area rotation is going to be somewhere in here near Highway 22 and I-12 here. So this is getting ready to cross I-12. Again, if you're in Madisonville, if you're in Mandeville, if you're in Covington, this is not a problem for you. This is right on the parish line. There's the parish line of St. Tammany as it goes into Tangipahoa Parish, but that will continue to lift north here. And Robert, I think that'll be the spot to watch if we're in the Robert community. But this is the most well-defined little supercell we have so far this morning. It's moving north, and it'll continue to move north through rural areas east of 55 and east of Highway 51 in Tangipahoa Parish. Let's put another track on this, see what's going on up here. And I mean, literally my radar isn't even clocking anything. So that's what we're watching. I think we got an update from Brandon and Bree. Do we have some power outages for parts of the area?
Yeah, we do, actually.
Oh, here we go.
We're seeing a decent amount right now, over 540 customers with Entergy and Tangipahoa Parish without power. Looking between LaRanger and Tickfall, and when I'm looking at the map here, it looked like the majority of those, close to 400, are Montpelier. So that's sort of the area that has the worst, but it also looked like it was going up over time, which often we see with events like this. So we're going to keep a close eye on that, and then of course let anyone know when it comes back on.
Can y'all zoom out a little bit for me in the control room? I want to get a scope on where this is, because this looks like
it
this
almost
is just
looks like
outside
it's
of
in one
Tickfall,
line.
Okay,
just outside of Tickfall.
So this is where okay, so this is where the first tornado at 4 a.m. we think, this was the confirmed one.
Okay.
We think that would have been right where it went. So what you were seeing was this little corridor. That's where it went. Now, whether it was a tornado or strong winds, we don't know, but that could be the potential area where we actually do have maybe some power poles down this morning. That is along 442. Now, if you're right there in that area here and you're watching us maybe on your phone because your power is out, that risk is now north of you, and that little cell was just some rain. The actual area of rotation and concern from the other storms, and we've had so many of these so far. Well, no, I tell you what. Okay, so this would have been from, there was two storms. This one was 10 minutes ago. That very well. So the power's out right here. That's the hook. And so that could have been where we had that potential, where we do have power out right now. That would have been in there about 10 minutes ago from that storm that's now lifting back. And so that's where it traveled. And you can see the power goes out where the road has the bend in it, 442, and extends where that cell is. So we very well could have had something. That's what it looks like on radar. And then this is what it looks like on our power outage. That's the corridor. So that's where we may actually have some damage that happened across Tangipahoa Parish this morning.
Which is in line with what you're saying about we might not exactly know until the sun comes up, but I think we're getting a great indication here because those two lines are almost identical.
Yeah, they are. And that cell now, just to give you a heads up on where that is now, since it did cause damage, it's now north of Wolf Lakes Boulevard. It's sitting just to the east of 1054. I don't know if that's 1054 actually. Let me zoom in.
So if you're up in that direction, I would say make sure your phone is charged.
Make sure
if you haven't
it's
lost your
charged.
power, because you might lose power within a short amount of time.
And sometimes with these cells, guys, it's not necessarily a tornado dropping down, but these produce strong winds. And so we don't know yet whether that was from strong winds, whether it was from hail or something completely unrelated. But it is striking that they were right in the same spot when the power did go out. And so that's where we currently have. Is that the only place we have power outages currently?
That's where it's highly concentrated, at least for the most part. They got a couple other spots in the area, but no, just there. A little south of that, a couple other customers too, but nothing significant.
Concentrated like that. Yeah. Okay. So that's what we're seeing right now. Now they are going to continue this tornado warning, and you can see for the most part the storms have. Okay, and here's your new tornado warning we were just talking about. For this cell we've been watching come off the lake, and we were talking about this was probably going to be issued. So what I've seen so far this morning, and why we do need to take these storms seriously, is because they seem to be dropping quick little spin-up tornadoes that either radar is missing or something is happening, because the 4 a.m. one, we had debris on radar. We haven't had any power report. This one came through, and we do have power outages, and so they're doing something, whether it be strong winds or tornadoes. We got to take them seriously. So let's track this one now, because this is a bigger tornado warning that does include extreme eastern Tangipahoa Parish. And so the current thinking is our area of spin is crossing I-12 as we speak. If you're familiar with some schools, we have Champ Cooper Elementary School that this just passed by. And so it's sitting just north of it, right near the interstate. And probably, since this radar update's about a minute delayed, it's getting closer to Highway 190. So if you live on 190 from Robert to Lorraine, and between there, you need to be in your safe spot right now. Just get away from windows, being an interior closet, an interior bathroom. You don't want windows, you don't want exterior walls. Also, really don't like people to be in mobile homes either. Those things roll so quickly. You don't want to be in an RV. It does not take strong winds for those things to roll. And so this is going to be our new tornado warning that has been issued for parts of Tangi. So they're going to expire the other tornado warning to the north. That's good, but this is our new one. So let me read you the details of this, and let me zoom out so you can see who's currently included. This is the one that's going to expire. This is the new one here, and it extends a bit further to the north. It does include communities like Unitas. And so if you're in Folsom right now, you're fine, but the closer you get to Unitas and anywhere in between in here in this rural part of Tangi, you are under that tornado warning. So a severe thunderstorm at 5:20 this morning, so about 2 minutes ago, was capable of producing a tornado. It was sitting about 9 miles east of Hammond, so Hammond, you're fine from this. It was between Robert and Lorraine and moving north at around 20 miles an hour. So let's put a track on it for you. We'll see what's going on out here in this area. I do think the concern of rotation is going to be moving north through those areas. My radar just does not want to clock anything out here, so let's do this instead. We'll move it north at 20 miles an hour. And so again, it's just not showing a whole lot of things out here, but there are houses out here. There are communities, rural communities out here that need to be aware that this little bitty cell, it's not very big, it's not taking up a whole lot of real estate, but they've been dropping quick something. They've either been producing strong winds or maybe dropping quick spin-up tornadoes this morning. Excuse me. And so that is the latest. So if you're just waking up and joining us, it's 5:23. This is going to be a lot of people's alarm clock this morning. That's the little cell that's got the National Weather Service's attention now. This is the old tornado warning that has since expired. It won't drop off officially till 5:30, but it's gone. And this is the new one that's going to run until 6 a.m. Let's get an update with Brooke. She's keeping an eye on the morning drive as it is a mess out up there on the North Shore this morning for Tangi.
Hey, good morning, Peyton. Yeah, we've got a little camera to show you near the area Peyton's been talking about here on the North Shore. So it's 5:25 right now. You can't see a whole lot from it, but you can see a little bit of a cloud here that is certainly lining up with our forecast for potential storms dropping these weak spin-up tornadoes like Peyton mentioned. So I-12 corridor near I-90, and then we continue to see Highway 190, and then we continue to see a little bit of additional activity on the North Shore above all of that if you happen to be driving in the next few minutes. And traffic doesn't seem to be affected, but like Peyton mentioned, the issue is we're dealing with potential downed trees or power lines, and it's dark. So once the sun comes up here in an hour, we'll have a better idea of those damage concerns. But right now, the interstate looking fine for the most part. You just don't want to be on the road and encounter a storm in real time with very little opportunity for a reaction on the roadways. Of course, we do have some rain involved in all of these, so that's another issue for driving. Make sure you're slowing down. You don't want to hydroplane. And then, of course, we continue with the South Shore, a lot improved, a lot drier. So overall, still watching a couple of these different camera views, seeing if we can get a little more information with eyes on the ground, since the radar is slightly messy with the nature of these storms being less defined. But we continue with I-12 looking mostly clear. We're going to keep watching these storms as they lift north. Highway 190 also a little bit congested this morning in those particular spots. Brandon and Bree.
All right, thank you for that, Brooke. Again, just taking a look at your area. If you are just joining us on this Monday morning, we are watching a tornado warning in parts of Tangipahoa Parish, a cell that is moving throughout the area right now. Looking at the power outages, some 500 customers without power, according to Entergy, and that area is centered in the Tikva area, in line with where Peyton Malone says the first confirmed system did touch ground there. That is in Tikva between Laranger near Highway 442, following the curve of the road, in fact.
Yeah, and we're seeing those numbers hold fairly steady. I've seen a couple added since we first gave you those numbers just about 10 minutes ago. And we're looking at a number of those sort of taking place right around 4 o'clock, which is in line with Peyton's watching here. But as we are tracking another warning, this new system, we want to send things back over to meteorologist Peyton Malone, who can give us the very latest on the one that we need to watch right now.
Yeah, this is an update, guys. This has now been upgraded to another confirmed tornado warning. And so what the National Weather Service is seeing with this warning in eastern Tangi is that this is radar confirmed. So they're seeing that it is potentially lifting that debris. I was talking about the radar can detect the different sizes. And so they went ahead and went confirmed with this as it lifts north. And so that's why it's flashing in that more pink or purple fuchsia color. And so take it a little bit more seriously now, obviously, since we could have a confirmed tornado. Now, where would that currently be? We think it's going to be right in here. If there is a tornado, it's going to be still in rural parts of the parish, but here's 445. Here's 190. So if you're in Robert, you're fine right now, but it was a close call. And if you live between Robert and Lorraine, that potential tornado is now past you, currently traveling along North Riverdale Heights Road. Okay, that's going to be your road for the travel of this thing. It's basically traveling up or near North River Heights Road at about 20 miles an hour. Now, that's the part of the road that actually travels north and south, not east and west. And so again, this is now past 190 by just a mile or so, maybe even less than a mile, and it's lifting north. Now, if you live north of these areas, if you live along 445, where it bends and continues to go north, you do need to be in your tornado safe spot. You are currently under this tornado warning. You can see some of our other roads that you may be familiar with up here, Bombing Range Road. You've got, again, Riverdale Heights Road. That road bends all over the place, and that'll continue to lift north. This also includes Unitas. You are currently under this tornado warning as well. So if you live anywhere in this corridor, in this polygon, I would go ahead and be in my tornado safe spot. If you live in a mobile home and you live north of this, near Unitas, you do have a second to actually get to a sturdier structure here. It's hopefully you can, because we don't like people riding these things out in mobile homes or in RVs that aren't really secured secured to the ground. So the National Weather Service, we're constant communication with them. They were saying that they saw the potential tornado, the debris signature just south of the interstate as it was crossing I-12. So we'll work to confirm to see if we did have an actual tornado across the interstate, but it would have been around 5:19. You would have had that potential tornado crossing right here. Here's 445 where it goes under I-12, and so that potential tornado would have crossed closer somewhere in here about 10 minutes ago. So that's where they were seeing the radar confirmed tornado, as they call it, lifting north. That would have been just east of Champ Cooper Elementary School. If you're familiar with that elementary, I think that potential tornado was just east of it and lifted north, crossed the interstate. That was about 10 minutes ago. And so now the storm sits well north of I-12, and it still has that classic look to it. You've got your hook echo here. This is where the storm's rotation, and you've got winds coming into the storm like this. This is where your area of spin is going to be as it lifts north here. Through Tangipahoa Parish. Again, if you're just joining us this morning right at 5:30, this tornado warning has expired, so no stress with that one anymore. This has currently become our big headline, with this being a confirmed tornado warning. That is a classic looking supercell lifting north through the eastern parts of Tangipahoa Parish. Your road there that it's running east of is going to be 445. And so if you live along 445, at least close to Mills Boulevard, this is just east of you. I would be in my safe spot. It's a little too close for comfort, but if you live further up 445, you're getting past the bend here, it actually will try to cross Highway 445 here fairly soon, and you can see where the bend is. That's where this tornado is going to try to cross. And so this is a closer look at the areas that certainly need to be in their tornado safe spot. This includes Shaw Lane. This includes Peterson Road, and that's basically what it's running up and down. These are very tiny and hard to read. Peterson, yeah, so Peterson Lane, excuse me. If you live on Peterson Lane, just off 445, that's the road where this storm, is basically traveling up the road itself. So that's going to be your area of spinning concern right there, and it's riding right up it towards 445. This radar is probably delayed by about 2 minutes, and so I do think it's a little further along at this point as it inches further and further up to the north here. So the National Weather Service, they're going to continue this tornado warning that we're currently watching officially until 6 a.m. This has been the most impressive cell I've seen so far this morning. I wouldn't say that the velocity or the wind signatures have been overly impressive with it, but it is certainly the most impressive we have seen so far based on the structure of it. The structure of it itself. And for some reason, our velocities are running about 10 minutes behind. And so we're really going off what we're seeing here with our live radar itself, the reflectivity, and what we're tracking with the rain. And so if you're in Unitas right now, please be in your tornado safe spot. If you are in Robert or Lorain, we're going to give you the all clear from this tornado warning. It looks like this cell is now north of you, and you're going to be doing just fine here at this point with regard to that one. I can look at, this is our radar on the South Shore. This is the radar that the airport uses, and it's a bit more high resolution, and it also updates more frequently. Now this radar is shooting higher up into the thunderstorm itself, and so you can see that, it crossed I-12 around. Tell your location. It crossed I-12 around 5:20, and it's been since lifting north. You can see it has that classic hook echo, and again, it's going to be riding very close to 445, where 445 meets Peterson Lane. And so that's about as close geography-wise as I can get you on where this storm currently is potentially producing this tornado. Now, the velocity on this radar on the South Shore is doing better. It's actually locked in space with it, and that's going to be your area of spin right now. Now, keep in mind, this is shooting fairly high up into this thunderstorm or this storm, and so we're getting just a look at it in one level, but that's going to be the spin here, and that very well, it could be our confirmed tornado we see this morning on radar. I want to see something very quickly here to see if we're seeing any debris detection on this. And at the moment, there could be some lowering, but again, the National Weather Service is going to be safe, better safe than sorry, and say that they're going to keep this tornado warning going as this lifts to the north. You're watching 5:30 here on WWL Louisiana. We'll be back after this short opening.
WWL Louisiana Morning News begins with breaking news.
And good morning to you at 5:33 on this very busy Monday morning as we continue to track tornado warnings, particularly in Tangipahoa Parish. I'm Brandon Walker.
Good morning to all of you. Brianna Boudreau here. We are tracking a number of power outages at this time right now at 5:33. If we take a look, it's nearly 600 now at this point, although the areas we're looking at, some of those started around 3:40 this morning from what we're getting from Entergy here. And if you look at it, a lot of the notifications here, Entergy saying that they're hoping to have power back on by 7:30. Of course, I think that's sort of just a target time frame, but we'll keep you updated as far as that. We are tracking some active activity right now with meteorologist Peyton Malone, so we want to send things over to him so he can give us the very latest on the warning we're currently watching.
Boy, we went from 90 to nothing here, or 0 to 90 here with all this morning, guys. Our latest tornado warning, we have changed it to just a tornado warning, not a confirmed warning anymore. They're not seeing any more confirmed actual tornado on the ground with regard to the radar itself. And so they've trimmed it back and they've backed off at least a level of the warning itself. You still take it seriously. We still want to be extra careful here. If we are in eastern Tangipahoa Parish, the current areas included in this tornado warning are fairly rural areas, but it does include areas like Unitas and anywhere in between Unitas and 445. Now, the area of spin where it seems to be that the storm is now struggling more, which is great, it's going to be where 445 meets Peterson Lane. If you're familiar, that's the corridor right there. And so when you're on 445, you do the little bend and keep going north. That's where we have the spin. Again, it's been coming down in intensity, it looks like, but it still could ramp up and down. Sometimes these things will fluctuate and they will go through cycles, but it's looking less and less organized at this point with what we're seeing with this tornado warning. Now, we were talking about the power outages. One of the storms earlier that was the tornado warning, that exact area where the power outage is where we think the tornado was. And so we're working to get confirmation. Was it from a tornado? Was it from strong winds? Either way, we've got power outages in parts of Tangi. You can see here in that bend. This was further west, just outside of Tickfall. And so this is where we are actually seeing power outages. And that little storm, the tornado warning, it would have went right in this general area. And so that's why we certainly think that could have been an actual tornado that crossed those. Now, that one is long gone, and so we're no longer stressed about that one. But if you are watching it this morning and maybe you slept through it and you're wondering why the power is out, that is why. And so as this continues to lift to the north, we will continue to follow it. Again, it looks like it is starting to lose a lot of its structure. That's great. As all these storms have lifted north, they have become less organized. But every now and then we have a storm that rolls off the lake. It's a quick spin up tornado, it seems, and then they dissipate. And so these things aren't lasting very long. We've got coverage for you all morning long as we continue to track these warnings and these showers across the area. Brooke has been keeping an eye on the morning drive, especially for Tangipahoa Parish. How are we doing this morning?
Hey, Peyton, thank you. Lots of great information on regional and geographical locations there. Of course, we're seeing a lot of rain in this particular snapshot of your traffic map. It's not as up to date as Peyton's radar, but you get the general idea. Roads are slick, and we do have the possibility, like he's been mentioning, of some debris, which is tough to see in the middle of the night before the sun's come up. So that is what you need to be most careful about if you happen to be on the roads in the next 30 to 45 minutes. We'll start to get a little more light towards the end of the 6 a.m. hour. But right now we're seeing green for most of our big highways in terms of no delays. So I-12 looking fine, I-55 looking fine. Up towards where we've been dealing with all of the impacts from the explosion, we are seeing a little more yellow and red on the map, so something to keep in mind there. Don't have definitive confirmation on whether or not this is a wreck, but working to confirm it shortly. Otherwise, we continue with I-12 looking pretty okay near Highway 190. Like Peyton mentioned, that was more the area with a very active storm moving northward. So over towards Slidell, no problems at the moment. 27 minutes for the drive as you come into the city, about 10 for the Twin Spans. Of course, we're nice and dry on the South Shore. We did have one accident this morning near the Superdome, but it's since cleared. Traffic is moving fine as you're making that morning commute a little bit closer to New Orleans itself. So all this active weather on the North Shore, we're going to go back to Peyton to get another update on radar.
Thanks, Brooke. Yeah, as we continue to track these severe thunderstorms and tornado warnings moving through the North Shore, we are getting some updates from people. We are seeing the power outages as well. As this storm lifts north here, it's currently in extreme eastern Tangipahoa Parish. That's right on the parish line where Tangi runs into St. Tammany. Now, this is going to be close to Unitas. Luckily, the structure of this storm has come down substantially, and so I think the risk for a tornado looks a bit lower now with what we were seeing earlier this morning. And so we're still waiting for the sun to come up. And so once the sun actually comes up, we'll have a much better idea on any damage reports that happened here on the North Shore. But where we stand right now is we have the power outage, and it was right where the severe thunderstorm and tornado warned storm actually moved over. And so if you are on the South Shore watching us this morning, this really is all about the North Shore right now. I wanted to start out and just give you a quick forecast because we haven't done that yet this morning. The South Shore is fine. We have a couple showers right now, but so far everything's been isolated. The heavy rain and the current flood risk is up in St. Helena and Livingston parishes. This is where we have seen multiple inches of rainfall overnight. And the problem with this is that you're not getting a whole lot of any shifts in this line. And so if you are in northern Tangi, St. Helena, Livingston Parish, we do have an ongoing flash flood warning as multiple rounds of heavy rain has fallen over those areas. In fact, since last night, we've had and you can see this corridor, we've had some areas that have picked up estimated 8 to even 5-6 inches of rain in this band. And so this has been, this is still probably going to drop several more inches. And so we will have a flood risk within these areas, especially for St. Helena, northern Tangi. Now, what'll be interesting to watch, we'll keep an eye on the Tangipahoa River into tonight and tomorrow probably. Remember, the Tangipahoa River runs through this part of Tangi and into Lake Pontchartrain. All this water's got to go somewhere, and it will be coming down that Tangipahoa River. We don't have updated forecast river levels yet. This has just happened too soon, and they will update them later today. And so if you do live along the Tangipahoa River, I don't think you're going to see massive flooding, but the waters will be rising over the next probably 24 to 48 hours, which means the river will start to get less safe for recreational things. And so if you're just joining us, it is 5:40 this morning. As I've been tracking, this is about our 4th tornado warning. It is currently sitting in extreme eastern extreme eastern Tangipahoa Parish. It's currently sitting just near Unitas. If there's any rotation, it's going to be closer to here. So that's 445. It's just east of 445. You could throw a stone. And so that's about where the rotation is going to be. There's Wilson Road. There's Highway 40. And this is the spot. And it's lifting due north at this point. The great news is it has been becoming less and less healthy looking, essentially, is how you can put it. And that means that it's probably struggling quite a bit as it lifts further north. And most of these storms, the further north they lift, the less the environment is, or the less better the environment is to actually get a storm to rotate itself. And so over the past 30 minutes, you can see how this storm going due north has lost some of that structure. Let's put it in motion. I want to zoom out and just show you here how things have evolved overnight. A lot of this has been east of New Orleans, and this is part of that low pressure that formed in the Gulf. It moved inland out to our west here, and this is just one of those bands getting fed up into that low that is sitting to the north. The low pressure is generally spinning right in there. There's not a whole lot with it, but the outer bands of it are causing problems, and you're getting your little spin-up tornadoes this morning. As the National Weather Service continues to track this, they're saying that this thing is not looking too healthy. Heads up for producers and the newsroom back there. We're probably going to be able to go back to your show here fairly soon, because I do think this is probably going to be canceled at any moment. Just looking at the latest trends and talking to the National Weather Service right now, they're seeing that it's not very healthy either, and it's probably not a risk for producing a tornado anymore at this point. And so that's great news. We will keep an eye. Any of these cells to further south, we've got a couple showers that have formed towards Homa, and they are lifting north. These we'll need to watch these to make sure they don't move into the same environment and try to spin as they cross the lake. New cells trying to pop up over the lake could lift north and try to rotate, so we'll be monitoring those as well. So at 5:42 this morning, I think we're doing okay. I think we're doing a lot better. This tornado warning is likely going to expire early as this cell continues to lift north through eastern Tangipahoa Parish. I'll keep an eye on all of this. We will have updates for you as we continue to track some of those power outages. And eventually, I will have a 7-day forecast that actually has some really nice weather in it. We'll talk about all that coming up later on in the show. Back to you guys at the desk.
Like that, the good with the bad,
Yeah.
something to look forward to. But thank you for staying up to date on this. You've been doing a really great job, and we appreciate it as we continue to watch. Did want to give you guys that we are starting to get some calls in and make those calls as well, just to get a better idea of what we're seeing. There is a power line down by LA 442. This is near the Tangipahoa River. The only other report of damage we're tracking is a tree that's down in Roseland. So some important information there. But I like what Peyton is saying, that this, you know, is not as organized, and he's hoping that soon that warning will be lifted.
Yeah, and 442 is in line with that first warning he was telling you about, where we saw the concentrated area of power outages. As we do take a look now at current outages throughout the area, most of them centralized in Tangipahoa Parish, particularly in the Tikva area. And we see, as we're seeing right there, along 442, particularly where it takes that bend, Peyton's first tornado warning, what was confirmed there, showed a strong line of winds make its curve there. So that would be in line with the power outages where the concentration of weather was earlier. Again, reports of a power line down from Tangipahoa Parish's Emergency Operations Department there near LA 442 in the river.
Entergy saying they hope to have the power back on by 7:30 in some of those areas. The time fluctuates just about 30 minutes, you know, along that route. But we'll keep a close eye on that and let you know as soon as it is lifted. Weather continues to be our main focus here this morning, keeping all of you safe. But we are going to reset, start the show, and we're going to talk some Saints coming up because we've got some good to talk there, which is exciting news. So stick with us. We'll be right back after this break.